how do you see quantum entanglement and how it relates to connecting with our audience? Okay, this is an incredible question, and it's quantum entanglement is, to summarize it, it is one of your strongest powers that you have access to as a human being, as an individual. I am not going, we've got 25-ish minutes, right? So I'm not going to deep dive down the rabbit hole of the ins and outs and the specifics of what QE is. I'm going to give you a really high level overview. Many of you will already have your own knowledge about this. Pardon me. You will know what it is. And I'm going to talk about how you use that in your client attraction today. Because maybe you haven't thought about how you use your QE with your client attraction. So this is going to be a really beautiful conversation, regardless of where you are in your understanding. I also am super mindful. I had a message from someone this week who joined the group, and she said, I love what you're doing, but I have to listen to you in the morning because you are so deep with the concepts that you speak about, and my brain can't compute in the afternoon. So I'm really trying to not go super, super deep and confuse and lose what we're talking about here. So I'm going to try and keep it as simplistic as possible, and I hope that that helps you. Okay, so at its most simplistic way to explain what QE is, Einstein, back in the day, we didn't have the technology or the science at the time to understand it in the way that we do now, but Einstein actually is accredited to kind of having the first experience or communicating about the first experience about what QE is, and he called it spooky action at a distance. Okay, so he called it spooky action at a distance because basically what he saw was this phenomenon by which one particle can effectively know something about another particle instantaneously, even if those two particles are separated by any form of distance, no matter how great the distance is. Okay, so what does that mean to have a particle be able to know about another particle instantaneously, even when not connected or disconnected by great distance? And how does this relate to your client connection and your attraction? Well, it has everything to do with your client connection and attraction, and here's why. So basically the principles or the theory of QE, which is science, by the way, this is not woo-woo, right? But it is woo-woo, but it's science woo-woo. Every single thing in the universe is made of particles. Which emit light energy. And so these particles entangle with one another, and once they are entangled, they're entangled for life. So basically what it's saying is that we live in a non-local universe where everything and everyone is connected and communicate without verbal communication. So we start to see that we are all made of the same thing, regardless of age, color, creed, race, and also regardless of the vehicle in which your energy particles are currently housed in. Meaning that right now I'm coming to you via Facebook and a computer, and all of these things are one in the same because it's and my body is emitting energy and entangling with the energy of, you know, the animate objects. So I don't want to go any deeper than that because I don't want to kind of lose or get confused or make it confusing. So that's the super high level of what QE is. Everything is made of energy, everything emits light, all of those particles communicate with one another, and once your particles have come into connection with someone else's energy particles, that bond is done for life. In Greg Braden's book, The Divine Matrix, he talks about how, I've lost my train of thought, but anyway, if you're interested in knowing more, Greg Braden's book, The Divine Matrix, is a great place to start because he has a beautiful, eloquent way of explaining this in its most simplistic form, but in such a way that it's really easy to understand the depth of it. So, pardon me. So basically, so from a client attraction perspective, right? Oh, that's what Greg Braden said in his book. Okay, So why do we all have this ability to communicate with one another through energy and through the energy particles? However, why is it that some people are more attuned to it than others? So for me, in my understanding, my personal belief is, if you think about, there's concentric sphere levels of awareness that we are all operating at, and you are on a quest to solve problems and challenges at each concentric sphere level of awareness. And so the more problems that you solve over the course of your life, the higher or the further out the concentric spheres you go. So Greg talks about in his book, your ability to actually start to proactively manipulate how you communicate non-verbally is really based on your awakening to this concept and an awakening to what you have within you to then be able to proactively communicate non-verbally. Now, this is relevant to your client attraction and connection and how many people you have to serve and the message that you share with these people. So I'll give you an example. Have you ever gone to pick up the phone to write to someone or call them and they've already called you or they've already sent you a message? That's one example of what QE is, where you're like, I was just thinking about this person. That is your energy connection with them, already communicating without you having to verbally communicate. And typically it'll happen with people that, you know, you are friend connected, partner connected, what you would define as intimate connections. But you actually have the ability to create these bonds with your future clients, right? And I'll give you actually a really beautiful example of something that happened this week. I was working with a client one-on-one, and we were putting together her perfect prospect list. And you know, the process we go through in Perfect Prospect is we look at your future clients, their spirit and their matter characteristics. And so we went through this question, the quality questions that I ask, and she got really clear on the types of individuals that are her perfect prospects. She put together her list, and one of the people on that list was a previous client, which makes sense, right? That sometimes your perfect prospects are people you've already worked with. She put that person on her perfect prospect list. 2 days later, this individual contacted her and asked for her to put together a proposal for her to come and deliver some health wellness workplace workshops, because she's a psychologist. So, and she hadn't made any verbal connection or communication with this individual other than think about them, get present to how she wanted to serve them, and she put them on her perfect prospect list. And then through a non-local entanglement, that energy has been felt subconsciously by them, and then they've reached out to her. Now, I know this all sounds a little woo-woo, and it really depends on, you know, your set of beliefs and your experiences around this, but this is real. Now, what does that mean for you and your client connection and attraction and your messaging? Well, here's what it means. In Connect with Content in Business Builder, we learn the Hour of Power strategy. And this is where you are on social media for 1 hour a day with very clear, actionable steps around where to find your people, your future clients, and how to connect with them from an organic perspective. Now, every time you get on social media, because you don't have to meet somebody in the physical flesh for your energy to be entangled with theirs. When you go and look at someone's profile, or you see them in a group or on a hashtag and you've read a comment that they've made, that is your energy now entangled with theirs, whether you like it or not. So in the Hour of Power, for example, when you are connecting with individuals on social media, just as much as your energy is entangling with theirs, their energy is entangling with yours, whether or not they are aware of it in that moment. Yeah, when people resonate with one another, same energetic frequency, exactly, right? All different ways to explain this. But here's why this is important for you in growing your business. Because if you are doing organic client attraction activities, it is really, really important that you are the one doing them, rather than outsourcing this to, say, a VA or somebody else. And here's why. If you outsource your connection and your conversion activities, then you're going to find probably that there is like a block, or your business isn't growing as quickly as what you want, because your future clients are not connecting and being entangled with your energy. They're connecting and being entangled with your virtual assistant's energy. And so this might slow your business down, and you might find that you're getting less acceptance rate on your friend requests, and people are less interested in what you're doing on social media if it's not you. So that's one way that you actually are really, that's one way that you're connecting with your future clients, through your energy, through your activity on social media. So you actually want to be really clear about the individuals that you want to serve, that you would love to serve, and be clear on how you can actually read from their profile if it's them, because you want to entangle your energy with the right people. From a perfect prospect perspective, say that 3 times. If you are constantly engaging with people that you know you would love to work with, they will come and work with you. In fact, let me tell you, because there's many of you that are commenting on here today, and many of you already know because I've shared this with you in Business Builder or in our one-on-one sessions. Many of you here today are my perfect prospects, and I have engaged with you energetically, and then when you're ready, you come and work with me and are working with me, many of you here. So it is actionable, but you, to the degree that you actually control how many people and who those people are, is to the same degree that you understand how to start to, I'm trying to look for the right word here. It's not about manipulating your energy or theirs. It's more about how you entangle, but you have to know how, or you have to know who the people are that you want to entangle with, and then how to meaningfully entangle, meaningfully connect. Right? Rather than just spray and pray, oh, they look like they're my person, I'll just add them, and oh, they've got the characteristics, they're a business owner, they're a CEO, they're a coach, I'll just add. And then you're wondering why your content's not connecting and it's not converting, is because you aren't clear on who you want to entangle with and how to energetically do so in a meaningful way. Right? No, I don't suggest you always being the one that's adding people. People are going to come to you as well, especially if you are showing up, on social media, say with your own content, and people are seeing you in groups using 3-part formula, which we go through in module 2 in Connect with Content. So there's going to be a balance between people seeing you and coming to you. But if you know how to read their profile to know if they are a PP, well, now you decide if you want to, pursue or explore that connection. Now, this part is really, really important and super simplistic. So even if I've lost you in the first 16 minutes, listen to this part, because this part you can definitely apply immediately. Okay. Many of you have probably heard of me talk about the law of the one and the many. It's a universal law. In fact, it's almost the most universal law, meaning that we see it in a lot of other universal laws. Now, a universal law versus a man-made law are 2 very different things. The man-made law is going to change over time throughout history based on society and based on people. But a universal law is a law that always has been, always will be, and you can't escape the universal law. So that's a really beautiful thing to know and a beautiful space to be in, because when you know what the universal laws are, you actually then can apply them to your life in order to proactively create your outcomes and your results that you want. So, law of the one and the many. From the one comes the many, and from the many comes the one. So what that means is this. If you are thinking about what is my message or what is the content that I should create today, how many times do you sit down at your keyboard and you think you're clear on what you want to share, and then all of a sudden your mind goes blank, you're staring at a screen, you're getting frustrated because you don't know how to get out what you thought you had in, and you feel like you're talking to everyone, you're trying to think about the whole world, but then you end up talking to no one. What's happening is you've gone so broad that you can't actually hone in and catch a clear thought. And so if you manage to put some content together in that space, it almost always ends up being a bit of a dog's breakfast. And if you post it, you probably find that you get very little engagement and very little interest. If we think about what we've spoken about with quantum entanglement, and now we apply the law of the one and the many, here's what I want you to start to do so that you can connect with more of the right people and actually have your message resonate with them. When you sit down to create a business message, a sales page, a piece of content, an email, anything, I want you to choose your muse, the one. Who is it that you're speaking to today as you create your email? Specifically, when I write my Saturday email, for those of you that are on my list, you will know that you get an email Saturday morning Australia time, Friday evening for the rest of you. But when I sit down to create that, I have one of you in my mind and I am writing specifically to you. So I know who I'm speaking to, you're in my mind's eye, and I'm specifically speaking about what I know you've shared with me about your own personal challenges, the things that you want, where you want to go in your business. So that email, I'm speaking to the one. When I write a piece of content, same thing. When I write a sales page, same thing. I'm sitting down, I'm speaking to the one. Now, not only does that help me get that piece of content out really, really quickly, because I'm not guessing, I'm just speaking to you. But when I share that across the platforms, it's felt by the many. Because in your target audience, whatever the one is experiencing, so too is the many, because we're all entangled. So when you write to the one, but you share to the many, it's felt by the many, but then the many turns into the one, meaning you now have clients DM you, email you, one, right? The one coming to you and saying, it's like you were reading my mind. And so this is where we see quantum entanglement and how you can start to do tiny things that make a huge difference to your ability to be able to connect with your audience on a greater scale. So I would really encourage you to think about, if you're writing something today, if you're creating a piece of content, if you're going to sit down and record a video, if you've got a sales page, an email, whatever it is that you're about to create today or tomorrow, who is your muse that you want to connect with as you are creating? And please keep them in your mind the whole time, because it makes your life quicker and easier in terms of the creation, but then it's felt by the many when you share it, and the many come back and turn into the one. Make sure you choose somebody that you actually love and would love more of those types of people to work with, right? So if we think about entanglement and we think about the law of the one and the many, don't pick a client that you worked with that you didn't really enjoy. Make sure it's somebody that you would love 10 more of those people, because then you're going to bring 10 more of those people towards you, right? Okay, so at a really high level, from a QE perspective, that is how you use it. That is what it is at a high level, and that is how you use it as it relates to connecting with your clients. And of course, as I said, if you would love a deeper dive into what it is, I really encourage you to read the Greg Braden book, The Divine Matrix, as a start. But it is such a beautiful topic to explore, and then you start to be able to see how you can entangle yourself with the right people so that you can have a wider impact on this earth, because I know that that is exactly why you're here and what you're up to.